Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into something pretty fascinating, maybe even a bit paradoxical, about the human mind.
Oh,
Yeah, think about it. So much of our psychological suffering often seems to come from the very thing that makes us unique, our language, our ability to think abstractly.
right. We're amazing problem solvers out there in the world, building things, curing diseases.
Exactly. But what happens when we turn those same skills inward, when we
Mhm.
try to solve our own thoughts and feelings?
Ah, yes. The research suggests that it can really backfire sometimes. It can create more distress, not less.
Which is where today's deep dive comes in. We're exploring a really powerful approach called acceptance and commitment therapy.
Sometimes called acceptance and commitment training if it's, outside a direct therapy context.
Right. And our mission today is to really unpack what this is all about. How does it offer a different way to handle difficult thoughts, difficult feelings?
Especially for people navigating something like obsessive compulsive disorder. We want to look at the practical strategies you can actually explore.
And we're drawing on quite a bit of research here to guide us.
Definitely. Trying to give you the key insights.
So, if our usual problem solving can backfire internally, how does acceptance and commitment therapy see this whole issue of psychological suffering? What's its sort of fundamental take on why we get stuck?
Well, what's really interesting is that the research points to a kind of mismatch. It seems like our suffering, our failure to thrive sometimes, comes from the interaction between our advanced human language and cognition.
Or big thinking brains?
Exactly. And our older, more direct ways of controlling behavior. It's like our sophisticated minds can inadvertently, trap us.
Trap us. That sounds counterintuitive. Our best ability is becoming a problem.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
This interaction leads to something called psychological inflexibility. The research highlights about 6 main ways this tends to show up in our lives.
6 ways we get stuck.
Yeah. They're not just labels, they're how our minds get rigid.
Yeah.
Think about emotional inflexibility like constantly trying to run away from unpleasant feelings.
Trying to avoid feeling bad at all costs.
Precisely. Then there's cognitive inflexibility. That's like being totally fused with your thoughts, believing everything your mind throws at you as absolute truth.
Like getting caught in an echo chamber in your head.
Exactly. Then attentional inflexibility, getting rigidly stuck, focusing only on threats or problems.
Tunnel vision.
Right. Then there are failures in perspective taking, struggling to see things differently, even seeing your thoughts as just thoughts. Also, a lack of clear, chosen values, losing touch with what really matters.
Losing your compass.
Well put. And finally, not being able to build habits based on those values, so you don't actually do things that move you towards what you care about.
Wow. Okay, so the core idea is that trying to just get rid of difficult thoughts and feelings, that's often the problem itself.
That's a key insight. Working really hard to solve an internal problem often makes it worse. But, and this is crucial, acceptance and commitment therapy offers, real alternatives. Powerful ones.
It sounds like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push.
The more forcefully it pops back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how does acceptance and commitment therapy define itself, given this view of psychological inflexibility?
What is it, fundamentally?
It's a psychological intervention, and it's got strong roots in modern behavioral psychology. That includes something called relational frame theory.
Which is about how language connects things in our minds.
Basically, yes. How language creates meanings and connections, sometimes unhelpfully. It also draws on evolutionary science. And what it does is apply mindfulness and acceptance processes,
Okay.
along with commitment and actual behavior change strategies, all to build up psychological flexibility.
That term again, flexibility.
Yes. It means being able to experience your inner world, thoughts, feelings, sensations more openly without struggling so much, and still act in ways that line up with what's truly important to you.
So less about changing the thoughts themselves.
And more about changing your relationship with them, how you react, how much power you give them. Fascinating. Okay, let's make this really concrete. Thinking about obsessive compulsive disorder. For someone dealing with that, their mind can feel like, a constant barrage of distressing thoughts, powerful urges.
Absolutely. A real minefield, as you said.
And traditional approaches might focus on challenging those thoughts, trying to suppress them. But as we've said, that can be incredibly hard maybe even impossible sometimes.
It often is. And from an acceptance and commitment therapy perspective, the core challenge for someone with obsessive compulsive disorder isn't that they lack motivation or tactics. The paradox really hits home here.
The paradox of effort making it worse.
Exactly. The harder you work to solve that internal problem, to get rid of the obsession, the urge, the anxiety, the more energy you feed it, the more entrenched it often becomes. Trying to suppress thoughts can make them louder.
Okay, so if fighting the thoughts is part of the problem, how does acceptance and commitment therapy help someone break that cycle? It's clearly not about just thinking positive thoughts or trying to force the obsessions outright.
Definitely not. It helps you learn to observe your thoughts and urges without that immediate automatic jump to compulsions. It's about slowing things down.
Slowing down.
Yeah, dropping anchor in the present moment, noticing what's actually happening inside you without getting swept away.
Can you give an example?
Sure. The research often uses examples like this. Say you have the thought, these flowers have aphids, aphids are dirty, touching them will contaminate me. This thought brings up really unpleasant feelings, right?
Understandably.
So the person with obsessive compulsive disorder might then perform rituals throwing out the flowers, washing hands repeatedly to get relief from that feeling.
And it works
Yeah,
for a bit.
exactly.
Yeah.
Short-term relief. But doing the compulsion actually reinforces the whole cycle. It sort of feeds the compulsion beast, making the urge likely to come back even stronger next time.
Feeding the beast. That's a vivid image.
Yeah.
So how does acceptance and commitment therapy cut into that specific cycle? It's not arguing with the aphids or dirty thought.
No, not arguing. It aims to break the link between the thought, feeling, and the compulsion. Instead of fighting the thought, you learn skills to diffuse from it.
Diffuse, like disarming it.
Kind of. You learn to see the thought as just a thought. You notice it showing up. Maybe notice it fading, like watching a leaf float past on a stream.
Okay.
And you practice accepting the uncomfortable feelings it brings up. Maybe noticing the physical sensations of anxiety without fighting them, just letting them be there, like feeling the texture of fabric, just noticing it.
So you separate the thought from the feeling,
Yeah.
and both from the action.
You create space, you see the thought for what it is, just words or pictures in your head, and allow the feelings to be present without needing to immediately escape them through compulsions. Then, crucially, you gently redirect your attention and actions back towards living your life according to your values.
Even with the uncomfortable thought or feeling still possibly there.
Yes. The aim isn't necessarily to make the discomfort vanish forever, but to learn you can carry it willingly and still move towards what matters, integrating it into a vital life, not letting it stop you.
That's a really profound shift. But I imagine for someone really struggling with obsessive compulsive disorder, just allowing these thoughts might sound terrifying or just impossible. Does the research actually show this works?
That's a really important question. And yes, the research is encouraging. Studies show that mindfulness, which is a core part of acceptance and commitment therapy, can be genuinely effective in helping people deal with obsessions and break that cycle.
So it complements other treatments.
Exactly. It often complements first-line treatments like exposure and response prevention therapy, sometimes called ERP. One study specifically found acceptance and commitment therapy help people with obsessive-compulsive disorder believe their obsessions less strongly, see them more as just thoughts, and feel less urgency to act on them with compulsions.
So it weakens the truth quality of the obsession.
Precisely. It fits within the broader family of behavior therapy, and it can include things like exposure exercises, but always with that distinct goal. Helping you willingly carry the difficult stuff so you can live a life you value, rather than focusing solely on eliminating the pain.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense. So for listeners who are thinking, okay, what can I actually try? Acceptance and commitment therapy talks about these 6 core processes, right? Often shown as a hexagon, the hexaflex.
That's right, the hexaflex model. 6 interconnected processes that all work together to build that psychological flexibility we talked about.
And you can think of them in pairs, helping you be open, centered, and engaged.
That's a great way to group them. Open, centered, and engaged.
Let's start with being open. What does that involve?
Being open includes 2 key skills. First is acceptance. This isn't about liking or wanting difficult feelings, urges, or sensations. It's about actively, willingly making room for them.
Taking room.
Yeah, allowing them to be there, to flow through you without that constant struggle or fight. It's like opening your hand instead of clenching your fist around the pain.
And paradoxically, that makes it easier.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
The research suggests that when you can sort of lean into your pain, examine it with openness, with curiosity, it tends to loosen its grip. It becomes less overwhelming.
Is there a simple way to practice that?
A basic starting point is mindful breathing. Just spending maybe 5 minutes a day focusing on your breath, and when difficult feelings or sensations arise, just noticing them, acknowledging them, and making space for them as you continue to breathe. No judgment, just allowing.
Okay. And the second part of being open, that was cognitive diffusion.
Yes, cognitive diffusion. This one directly targets those sticky thoughts, the ones that feel so real and demanding, especially in obsessive compulsive disorder.
How does it work?
It helps you change how you interact with your thoughts rather than trying to change the thoughts themselves. The goal is to lessen the literalness of a thought.
Literalness.
Meaning, we tend to react to a thought as if it is the thing it refers to. If you have the thought, I'm contaminated, you react as if you are literally contaminated. Diffusion weakens that fusion.
So you see the thought as a thought, like, I am having the thought that I'm contaminated.
Exactly. You see it for what it is. Just words, sounds, images passing through your mind, not necessarily a truth or a command you have to obey.
What are some ways to practice that? How do you
Yeah.
do diffuse?
Well, you can practice just watching thoughts come and go, like clouds in the sky or leaves on a stream, dispassionately observing.
Okay.
Another technique is to take a difficult thought, maybe a single word like loser or dirty, and say it out loud over and over really fast for like a minute.
What does that do?
Often it starts to sound like just a meaningless noise. The word loses its punch, its emotional charge, it becomes just sound.
Stripping its power away.
You can also try giving the thought a silly voice, or imagining it written on a billboard, or giving it a shape or color, or simply preface it with, I'm having the thought that. All these little techniques help create that bit of distance, that separation.
Is there a metaphor for this?
Yes, the passengers on the bus metaphor is a classic one.
Yeah.
Imagine you're driving a bus that's your life, heading towards your values. Your thoughts and feelings are the passengers.
Okay.
Some passengers might be loud, obnoxious, even scary. Maybe they shout threats or tell you you're going the wrong way. They might try to grab the wheel.
Right, like obsessive thoughts or strong anxiety.
Exactly. Now, if you stop the bus every time a nasty passenger shouts, if you get out of the driver's seat to argue with them or try to kick them off, well, you're not driving anywhere, you're stuck.
Makes sense.
Diffusion is like recognizing they're just passengers. They can shout all they want, but they can't actually control the bus unless you let them. You, the driver, keep your hands on the wheel and keep driving towards your chosen destination, even with the noisy passengers on board.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. Okay, so that's being open. What about being centered? Grounding ourselves.
Being centered involves present moment awareness and self as context. Present moment awareness is about intentionally bringing your focus to what's happening right here, right now.
Being mindful of the present.
Yes, making non-judgmental contact with whatever is happening both inside you and around you. This helps you connect more directly with your actual experience rather than getting lost in thoughts about the past or future. It makes your behavior more flexible, more responsive to the now.
What are some ways to practice that beyond mindful breathing?
You can try mindfulness of domestic chores. Pick something routine, washing dishes, folding laundry, brushing your teeth, and do it with full mindful attention. Notice the sensations, the temperature of the water, the smell of the soap, the movement of your hands.
Paying attention to the mundane.
Exactly. And when your mind wanders off into thoughts, which it absolutely will, just gently notice that it wandered and kindly bring your attention back to the task, back to the present sensations. No criticism, just returning.
Okay. And the other part of centered was self as context, sometimes called the observer self. This sounds a bit more abstract.
It can seem that way initially. It's about connecting with a sense of you that is deeper and more stable than your thoughts, feelings, or even the roles you play in life.
How so?
Think about it. Your thoughts are always changing, feelings come and go, your body changes over time, the roles you have, employee, parent, friend, they shift. But there's a part of you that notices all that change.
The part that's aware of the thoughts and feelings.
Exactly. The you who is observing it all. Acceptance and commitment therapy often uses the metaphor of the sky and the weather. Thoughts, feelings, sensations are like the weather constantly changing, sometimes stormy, sometimes calm.
But the sky.
The sky remains. It contains the weather, allows it to pass through, but it isn't damaged or defined by it. Self is context. is connecting with that sky-like awareness, that stable viewpoint from which you can simply observe your experiences without being consumed by them. It helps you see thoughts, not as you.
I see. It provides a steady anchor point.
Precisely, an anchor in the storm.
Okay, so we've got openness and centeredness. But psychological flexibility isn't just about managing internal stuff, right? It's about living a meaningful life.
Yeah.
That brings us to the last pair, engage.
Yes, engaged. This is where values and committed action come in. This is about moving forward.
Let's talk about values first. How are they defined here?
Values in this context are your chosen qualities of how you want to be and what you want to do in your life. They're about what truly matters to you deep down in the big picture.
So they're different from goals.
Very different. Goals are destinations you can reach and check off, like get a degree or run a marathon. Values are more like compass directions, like heading west. You can always head west. You never fully arrive at west.
So values guide your ongoing journey.
Exactly. They're directions you choose to move in moment by moment, day by day. Things like being loving, being curious, contributing to my community, taking care of my health. Clarifying your values can actually be a really positive, intimate process. It helps you see what you do care about.
How can someone start figuring out their values? Is there a tool?
There are many exercises, but one common one is the bullseye metaphor and worksheet. It helps you look at different areas of life, maybe work education, relationships, personal growth, health, leisure.
Okay.
And for each area, you reflect on what your values are, what's truly important to you there. Then you mark on a target, the bullseye, how close your actions have been recently to living by those values.
So it gives you a visual map of where you are versus where you want to be heading.
Yes, it highlights where you might be off track from what matters most to you and where you might want to focus your energy.
Which leads perfectly to the final piece, committed action.
Exactly. Knowing your values isn't enough if you don't act on them. Committed action is about taking concrete, specific steps that move you in your valued directions.
Even when it's hard. Even when uncomfortable thoughts or feelings show up.
Especially then. It's about doing what matters, even in the presence of obstacles, internal or external. It's linking your day-to-day actions back to your why, your values. This is what creates a sense of vitality and meaning.
How do you make that practical, not just vague intentions?
A really useful strategy is setting SMART goals. That acronym stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to your values, and time-bound.
SMART goals. Okay.
So instead of a fuzzy goal like, I want to be a more loving partner, which is a value.
Right, a direction.
You'd set a specific, committed action goal like, this week, on Tuesday and Thursday evening, I will put my phone away during dinner and ask my partner specific questions about their day and listen fully to the answers.
Much more concrete. You know exactly what to do.
Yes. It makes it clear what actions you'll take to embody your value of being loving, making it much more likely you'll actually do it.
This has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Really breaking down acceptance and commitment therapy. It feels like such a humane approach, acknowledging that difficulty is part of life.
It really is. And that's a core message to remember. Pain, discomfort, difficult thoughts, they are unavoidable parts of being human. The goal isn't some mythical, pain-free existence.
Right. It's not about eliminating pain.
No, it's about building the skills to carry the pain you inevitably have, to make room for it, and to integrate it into a life that is rich, full, and meaningful because you're living according to your values.
Yeah.
When the process of living aligned with your values becomes the focus, well, you always have access to that right here, right now.
That's a powerful reframe. Now, for listeners who are interested and perhaps want to explore this further, maybe find professional support.
Absolutely. There are resources available. You can look for licensed therapists or psychiatric providers who specialize in acceptance and commitment therapy. Services like RULA, for example, specifically aim to connect people with care providers who accept their insurance, often with quicker access to appointments.
It's good to know. Are there other places to look?
Yes, you can also check out national databases. Organizations like the Association for Behavioral and Cognitive Therapies, that's ABCT, or the National Association of Social Workers, NSSW, often have searchable directories where you can find therapists who use mindfulness and acceptance-based approaches like acceptance and commitment therapy in their practice.
Excellent. So as we wrap up this deep dive, perhaps a final thought for everyone listening to mull over.
Sure. Maybe consider this.
Yeah.
We live in a world that often tells us happiness comes from getting more stuff or feeling good all the time or avoiding discomfort at all costs.
That's definitely a common message.
But what if true well-being isn't actually about chasing those fleeting pleasures or constantly trying to escape the difficult stuff? What if it's more about courageously embracing all of your experience, the pleasant, the unpleasant, the messy bits, so you can build a life that genuinely reflects what you most deeply care about?
A really provocative question. What does your own experience tell you about where you might need to shift your focus right now to build a more vital, more meaningful life? Perhaps using some of these ideas, something to think about.